Hello students, today is the revisional class of alternative English. So as you remember, I was doing it you the poem The Daffodils. So let us do the revisional class. So at first we'll learn about the poet William Wordsworth. He was a British poet, and due to his recognition in the field of poetry, he got the title of Poet Laureate in the year 1843. Poet Laureate is a dignitary title in the field of poetry. He was born in the year 1770 and he died in the year 1850. So some of the major poetical works written by him were Lyrical Ballads, which was published in the year 1798, The Prelude 1850, and moreover in his poems we find a theme of deep love for nature, understanding of nature, etc. Now the background of the poem is a visit to the Lake District of England. Now the Lake District of England is a beautiful place in England, and it is known for its beautiful natural scenery and landscape. And our poet Wordsworth often used to visit the Lake District of England in order to find inspiration for writing poetry on nature. So the poet, along with his sister Dorothy Wordsworth, they were moving about in this beautiful countryside area called Lake District of England, which is known for its beautiful natural scenery, and suddenly they saw a long belt of golden daffodils. Now this long belt of golden daffodils were so beautiful, were so inspiring, that they motivated or inspired our poet to write the poem The Daffodils. And moreover, at that point of time, the poet was also very depressed and sad because of the recent demise of his brother. But due to the beautiful scenery of the golden daffodils, he forgot all his woes and miseries. Okay, now if we talk about the central idea or the prominent idea of the poem The Daffodils, then it is mainly about the soothing effects or the healing effects of nature on mankind. So nature always has a healing, purifying or everlasting effect on mankind. So our poet Wordsworth, he came across a beautiful field of golden daffodils, and these beautiful golden daffodils didn't provide only momentary pleasure to our poet. The memory of these golden daffodils remained with him throughout his life, and whenever he felt low, whenever he felt low spirited, the memory of the golden daffodils would provide him with eternal pleasure, with mental and emotional satisfaction. That it shows that how nature always provide mankind with permanent with mental and emotional pleasure, with spiritual satisfaction. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills. So the poet William Wordsworth was wandering aimlessly and without any purpose in the countryside area of London. So this countryside area of London is the Lake District of England, and he was feeling very low, sad and dejected at that point of time because he recently lost his brother John, and he was trying to overcome the pain of losing a loved and dear one, and he was feeling very lonely at that point of time. So in order to show the depth of loneliness and sadness that he was experiencing at that point of time, he compared himself with a cloud, because a cloud is a natural object which is completely detached from the other terrestrial objects. So just like a cloud, the poet's loneliness is also of similar nature. The poet is also feeling lonely, detached from the outside world, although he is wandering about in that countryside, and although this countryside is full of beautiful natural scenery, still he is not finding any kind of happiness because he is completely detached. But suddenly when the poet came across a long belt of golden daffodils and he saw their delightful and sprightly dance, all his sadness, his loneliness disappeared, and he started to enjoy this scene in that countryside. And then the poet says, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. So suddenly when the poet saw the field of golden daffodils, his loneliness completely disappeared. because these daffodils were very very beautiful to look at. They were very very beautiful, and due to their angelic golden color, because the daffodils were yellow in color, but due to the sunlight which is reflected, these daffodils seem to look like golden in color, and due to the angelic golden color, they actually look like a host of angels. A host is a word that we usually associate with a group of angels, so the poet addressed the daffodils as host of angels, because not only because they resemble not only because the daffodils resemble the angels, but also because the daffodils are providing the poet with spiritual, emotional and mental pleasure, and was helping him to forget all his tensions and worries. And after that, the poet says, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So, the daffodils which the poet saw on that particular day, they were actually growing under the branches of the trees and by the side of the lake. And these daffodils, the daffodils actually is a flower with a long stem. So, as the cool breeze was blowing upon the daffodils were swaying on their stem, so their movement is referred to the poet as dance. It seemed as if the daffodils were dancing on their stems. So the daffodils were fluttering, dancing in the breeze. So it, because of the cool breeze, the daffodils were swaying on their stems, but the movement is referred to the poet as dance. It seemed as if the daffodils were fluttering and dancing in the breeze in happiness, in order to show their delight, in order to show their happiness. Next, the poet says, continuous is the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. Now, the poet makes another comparison here between the daffodils and the number of stars growing in the Milky Way. Because, first of all, the daffodils are uncountable in number. They are very huge in number. So, as far as the eyes could see, the poet only saw the daffodils. So, due to their innumerable number, due to their sheer number, the poet makes the comparison between the daffodils and the infinite number of stars of the Milky Way. But this comparison is given not only to show the predominance of number displayed by the daffodils in that countryside. The poet also wants to show their infinite beauty, the sheer beauty, that how the daffodils were predominating each and every element of nature present in that countryside in terms of beauty. The poet compares them with the stars of the Milky Way. So just like the stars that make the Milky Way beautiful with their shining and twinkling nature, the golden, happy and beautiful daffodils also enhances or increases the beauty of the countryside with their dance, with their delightful and sprightly dance. They stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. So these dancing and fluttering daffodils, they were growing endlessly by the side of a lake, and that is what makes the daffodils so attractive. It is the most attractive feature of the daffodils, because they were growing in an endless line. Already the daffodils are a very beautiful flower, and moreover their dance is enhancing the beauty of the countryside. And apart from that, there are not only just a few golden daffodils. So the entire side of the lake is scattered, or is full of the golden daffodils, and that makes the daffodils more attractive and more mesmerizing in nature. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. So these daffodils were endless in number. Their sheer number, due to their endless number, the poet is exaggerating or using a hyperbole that there are about 10,000 daffodils growing in the countryside, and the daffodils are tossing their yellow bright heads. So these daffodils are swaying on their breeze as the breeze is blowing upon them. So the movement of the daffodils in the cool breeze is referred to the poet as a sprightly dance, a dance which is full of delight, full of spirit, full of happiness, full of merrymaking. So these daffodils, they were 10,000 in number probably, and moreover they were tossing their yellow bright heads in a sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. So already in the comparison between the stars and the daffodils, I told you that the daffodils, they were predominating each and every element of nature present in that countryside in terms of beauty. So some shining ripples were formed on the surface of the lake, and these ripples seemed to be dancing. But due to the delightful dance of the golden daffodils, no element of nature came to our poet's notice. So the daffodils outperformed the dance of the waves. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. So the poet suddenly realizes that his initial loneliness suddenly disappeared, and the daffodils are providing him with a delightful and a joyful company. So due to this, the daffodils are referred to as delightful companions or jocund company. So jocund company means delightful company, a company who provide happiness, delight and joy to us. So these daffodils are acting like delightful companions to our poet. And moreover, Wordsworth considers them to be delightful company, or he feels extremely happy in their company because he is a poet who chooses to write about nature, and the daffodils are providing him with endless inspiration, or providing him with motivation, or providing a soothing and hypnotizing effect on him so that he can write a poem on them. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. So the poet Wordsworth is gazing at the beautiful dance of the golden daffodils in an uninterrupted manner. So he was looking at them, he was just repeatedly looking at the nice feature of the golden daffodils, and is so lost in their delightful dance that the other elements of nature didn't come to his notice. So the waves in the previous stanza, I already told you, the waves, sorry, in this stanza, in the beginning of the stanza itself, it is said that the waves were also dancing in the lake. So these sparkling and delightful dancing waves also could not attract the notice of the poet, because the poet is too lost in their beauty, and at that particular moment he was not able to understand what kind of emotional and spiritual pleasure he was deriving out of the sight of the golden daffodil, because he was too much mesmerized or hypnotized by their effect. So for oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, reflects upon that inward eye which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. So in the final stanza of the poem, the poet says that whenever he lies in his couch in a sad or low spirited or in an emotional state, then suddenly with the help of his imagination or with the help of his inward eye, he can recollect the memory of the beautiful golden daffodils, the dancing and fluttering daffodils, and the fond and happy memory of the daffodils can rejoice his mind once again. So the daffodils didn't only provide momentary pleasure to our poet in that countryside where he saw them. Even after he came back from that countryside, and whenever he is in a state of solitude, in a low spirited mood, he can remember the beauty of the golden daffodils, and all his woes, all his miseries are forgotten. So it shows how nature is a source of happiness to mankind, how nature always provides soothing and hypnotizing effect on mankind. So we have a strong bond and emotional connection with nature which will never be broken.